And then once it says live, we'll be live. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamila Sherman, and I am manager of programs and membership for the Deck at Redbird. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning for our new series called Creatives Connect, where basically we're going to speak to different industry experts and leaders on how they're just pivoting due to the COVID crisis and how it's encouraging innovation and just new ideas and everything in between. So today I have joining with me the founders of Dbff, Linda and Harry Eaddy. And I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. We're going to have a lot of great questions to just ask them on pivoting and just everything in general. And then at the conclusion, there's an option to the left of your screen called networking, where you will be able to kind of do one-on-one pairing with different people who are tuning in as well and creatives who just want to meet and connect. So nonetheless, Harry and Linda, Eaddy, how are you guys? And how are things going on your end?
We're doing great. Doing good. Yeah. Life is
good to hear.
Good.
To hear. Well, I'll just jump right into it. So, Good to hear. Good to hear. So what inspired Dbff? What inspired the Institute? Kind of give us that story.
So several years ago, Dbff is sponsored by the Denton African American Scholarship Foundation. So we award scholarships to deserving high school students. So we've awarded over $400,000 to about 330 students over the last 35, 36 years. But we noticed that a number of our donors were literally dying off because they were getting older. And so my wife and I attended a film festival. And while we were there, I told my wife, I said, you don't really see a lot of Black cinema. So that was, 6 years ago, well, actually 7 years ago. And so we came back. I started thinking about what we did not see at the festival. Not a lot of people that looked like us. And so I came back and, connected with a couple friends, Shalon Brown and also Rochelle Cummings. And we started planning. And then, my wife came on. I'd say she was always talking to me, but she came on board, probably about a month or two later. So we've been doing, so we're entering our 7th year. So Dbff is all about culture, Black culture, and everything that goes with that. And so that's really kind of what, Dbff is doing. And the Institute was really formed about 2.5, 3 years ago, but it officially opened about 2 years ago. And that was really to meet the needs of creatives, because we felt like, our tagline is entertain, educate, and inspire. But we also felt like we needed to do more than just entertain. So it's really our attempt to help equip creatives, in particular Black creatives, to do their work and network and collaborate.
Yeah. And Jeff, Jamila, I like to think of it as just really something that's been evolving over time. When we started our first year in 2015, we showed 13 films. It was a day and a half, and we had 800 people, which was good for our first year in that experience. And then the second year, though, we added the element, I believe, of spoken word that year. And then what we realized, Black culture, while film remains the heart of the festival, there are a lot of other aspects of storytelling of Black culture that we wanted to share. So then we started adding other elements to music. We've got spoken word, we've had comedy, we just have an art, visual art. So we started adding all of these components. We've got some more surprises that we're adding this year. To give you a well-rounded Black cultural experience using all the different mediums, knowing that they interact with each other. Often people that are creative too don't just do one thing. Often if someone's a musician, they may still be interested in acting, or they may be an artist, or, people can be really multi-talented. So we wanted to, recognize that as well.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So it sounds like it kind of was birthed from a lot of things, from a lot of influence, from a need, from a need for opportunity, a need for exposure, a need for a new way of doing art and just, presenting art. So with all of those needs, how has it kind of, shifted or impacted the growth, the pandemic in general? Since has it kind of hindered servicing those needs? Just can you kind of dive into that, Linda?
Okay, well, I think for me, one thing that it's done is created some different opportunities. So some things we've been moving into some year-round programming. So this virtual world gives us an opportunity to do something each month, to do more things. But we know, having been really a physical festival, the pandemic, we were lucky to be able to have our 2020 festival before everything hit. Where South by Southwest had to cancel and other festivals that had to cancel or pivot, to the virtual world. We were able to have our festival in 2020, and it was a wonderful experience with 93 films. We were in like 11 venues. We had over almost 9,000 attendees. I mean, it was just wonderful. And we'd added a tech expo. We had all these things as part of it. But now we know moving into 2021 and where we are with the pandemic, it's not possible to have that type of physical experience. So we're having to pivot like, everybody else, try to figure out what we can do. And I think, Harry, what we're going to try to do this hybrid model if we can. We know probably virtual will be the main ingredient for the festival this year. And we'll see what the virus allows us in terms of a physical presence.
I kind of want to pause, if you don't mind, Linda, and backtrack to your note on how many people were in attendance and you guys were reaching last year. How was that happening? You guys are in Denton, and it's not your largest known metropolitan area. So what kind of attributed to the success of that for people who aren't too familiar with Denton and the location? Can you kind of give them a breakdown on that as well?
Okay, Harry, you want to take that? Or?
Yeah, sure. So Denton is a hot spot. You may not know that.
It's a well-kept secret.
Yeah, it's a well-kept secret. So that's a joke, Jamila. But so the festival, if you look at Sundance, Sundance is in Park Cities, Utah, but most people really don't know a lot about where Sundance is located. They just know it is a destination location. So Dbff is really a destination location. It's about 35 miles north from Dallas. It's about 20 minutes away from Plano. It's about 35 minutes from Fort Worth. So it's really probably, if you think about it, it's a triangle. So what we thought is that Denton has two major universities with North Texas University of North Texas, I should say. It also has Texas Women's University and really a very large junior college presence with North Central Community College, right? So it has over 60,000 students, almost 150,000 people that live in Denton. And so we're in close proximity to the Metroplex. But, we felt like it would be really good to have it in more of a college setting where there's a lot of young people, a lot of activity. Food is pretty reasonably priced compared to maybe Dallas, Fort Worth. There's virtually no paid parking. So it's just really kind of a nice, communal environment.
Yeah, and I think, once the city saw what we were doing, we've kind of been embraced too. So the merchants and the restaurants get excited when we're having our event, and the city has, really kind of sponsored us too. And people have been really enthusiastic about it. Now, we did know the one challenge is that Denton has a very small Black population. So it's not necessarily a place that you would think you would do a Black film festival. But the festival's for everyone. We know the majority of our attendees are going to be, people of color, Black people in particular. But we've been able to get about 20%, 25%?
Yeah, 20 to 22% of the attendees are not Black.
Right. And because we know part of Black culture, part of it is sharing. I mean, we want to share with each other and celebrate who we are. And especially these days, there's a wider population that needs to understand more about who we are and celebrate who we are as well. So, we thought Denton would be a good location. It is accessible, from a lot of different communities, like Harry mentioned. Right, so it just, you add all of those factors together. Plus we live here, I guess, too, which makes it easier for us. And we have wonderful volunteers here in Denton that have really embraced it. We've got a team, people that really work with the festival and help with all the planning and the execution. So, it's turned out to be a really good spot, a really good thing that we did do it in Denton.
Yeah, the other thing is that we do get 10 to 15% of our audience that are not from Texas. So they come from, California, New York, Indiana, Minnesota,
Canada, yeah,
as well as internationally as well.
Yeah, I can attest from just helping, on the back end with you guys organizing the festival, as well as attending, that it's very diverse, it's very family friendly, it's very immersive in any aspect of, the arts that you're interested in. You can find something about it, at Dbff. So that's always good to hear.
Yeah, I would say
to go on to my next question, we talked about a lot of. Go ahead. Go ahead, Harry.
Well, the other thing, too, I would say is that what we also found out is that I think in the Black community, I think we're starving for culture, right? So Dbff is all things cultural. And so that's why we really made an attempt to, whether you like film, which is our anchor, or whether you like art. For instance, last year we had 2 visual artists. This year we'll have 2. We are introducing some other things within the festival as we look at what's cultural. So there are a lot of aspects about what we do that I think people, whether in music, whether in spoken word, we do have which you participate in. Our spoken word event is really a signature event. So we'll have 240, 250 people for that event, and then comedy. So there's just a lot of things. I think the best way that I can describe Dbff is we are a cross between South by Southwest and Sundance in terms of, the types of events that we've tried to put together.
That's good to hear. So with the pandemic arising, has it encouraged any innovation or anything new or ways of looking at things that you guys didn't consider before?
Well, as my wife said, we have gone to year-round programming. So when the festival ended in January, we literally had our first meeting about 30 days later, where we began preparation. And so we were beginning to meet pretty regularly. And then in late March, I guess we realized that we had to revisit the festival and reimagine it. So what we've been doing really since the end of March, I think, honey, you would agree, we've been really kind of reimagining the festival, realizing that, of course, it would be largely virtual, we thought. And if we could do in person, we would do it in person. But it really is kind of really allowed us to begin to think about the festival in different ways. And we've also talked to several other festival leaders, and they're doing the same thing. I don't know, honey, what you want to add to that.
Yeah, I'll just say, it's just a different environment and everybody's trying to find their way. So we're keeping our ear open. I'm going to any kind of seminars, anything I can learn about what other festivals are doing, what other people are doing. Because trying to connect people to keep some of what we have or what we think is our secret sauce for our festival. How do you convey that in a virtual world? So you just start looking at a lot of things. I'm looking at a lot of content, a lot of webinars, a lot of things, just trying to see what's out there, what we could possibly adapt and use for us, what new ideas we can come in on, or how we can take, one idea and put our spin on it. So it takes a lot of time in terms of research and trying to be present and keep up with what's going on, from industry news, because the whole film industry, entertainment industry is being turned upside down. I think some things that were going to happen anyway were, on that path with theaters and the way films are being released, they were kind of headed down to a change anyway. What the pandemic did is things that people were thinking about doing it's increased the timeline. So now you're going to do it. It's not going to be a transition of 2 or 3 years. You got to pivot and be quick and figure it out and do it now, because now's the time this opportunity has presented itself. So I think we look at it like, it's a challenge, but look, what are the opportunities? Where's the silver and the gold in this tough situation?
Yeah, and my wife and I were talking about QB, right? And so in less than a year, they've come and gone, right? And so when you think about that, they came up with an idea, which was a really solid idea when things were pre-COVID. But during COVID, and then now as we're traversing this, they realized that the return on their investment was not there. So I think that's really, you're seeing a lot of disruptors in the marketplace right now, and people taking a look at, what they want to see, what they don't want to see, how they want to see it, the devices that they're willing to have or not have. So it's really a very volatile market right now.
Yeah, it is. And there's so much that's vying for people's attention. You know what I mean? There's so many streaming services. There's so many things. What happened with QB, I think part of it too, was that they had a great idea with doing these short videos, so that people, if you're waiting at the doctor's office or you've got 15 minutes, you can watch something and get some good content. But people are getting that already on YouTube and Facebook. I mean, there are all these other avenues that, people aren't necessarily going to want to pay for the content that they were going to deliver. So it was an exciting idea and they had heavy hitters, but it just didn't resonate. So that, trying to figure out how you operate in this environment when so many things are grabbing our attention, how do you stand out?
Yeah, and I think to that point, Jamila, QB spent about $1 billion, with a B, right? So that's significant that they spent close to $1 billion, if not more than $1 billion, and yet they're closing their doors down.
Yeah, money's not always everything,
And if you don't mind here, can you enlighten people on what QB is for people who don't know what that service was?
Yeah, Linda.
Okay, it was a platform that had short time content, so that you could go, and they were getting some directors and different things to do these little short series, so that you could watch it might have been a story, and each segment might be 5 or 10 minutes, or it might be a game show. Christy Teigen, John Legend's wife, she had a show on there where she was a judge with her mother, and you could watch these little episodes for 15 minutes, and she might have 6 or 7 series. So it was like this really short content where you just had a few minutes, you could check something out. And they were using, some good directors and bringing on some heavy hitters here and there. And it was just all of this, content that you could just see, and you would pay a subscription fee, a monthly fee like you do for Netflix or anything else. And you'd have access to QB and all of the things that they were doing.
Yeah,
and
I think
the thing is you can see short videos and things. You can, look at so many things that you don't have to pay for. So
but I think the idea was good, and my wife and I watched QB, but they had some really amazing talent. But they tried to, in my mind, they would do a production for, let's say, I don't know, maybe $300,000, right? That was a short 10-minute film, where most filmmakers would do that same short film for less than $5,000. So when you start thinking about how you were going to make your money, they were, I think, upside down. But the idea was good, but the execution, I think, is something that created a challenge for them, which I think, to your point, is why you need to, I think, as an organization or an artist, really begin to think about, who your audience is, what you're trying to accomplish, what the return on the investment is.
Yeah.
Which we think about for Dbff all the time.
Yeah.
Could you guys say TikTok could have played a part to
Yep, I
their
would say
downfall in a sense?
absolutely. I think, I was saying YouTube, but TikTok really with the short content that it does. And, everybody's doing it and you can, easily do your own or whatever. So it just, I would think it played a part in it too. And I think just the timing with the pandemic too, we have maybe a little bit more free time to try to figure and find things to do. So you don't need something presented that's just, right there necessarily. You can look at other options.
Yeah, and I think the model could have worked because they could have attracted filmmakers, a lot of independent filmmakers. But what they did is they went to the Hollywood model. And so that model is a very expensive model. The distribution model, they were an aggregator, so they were aggregating all the content. But, some of the shows that we saw were good, but you thought, man, I bet you they spent a fair amount of money producing those short films, right?
Right, or shows, just even some of the series, some of the comedies. They had a dating show that was really cute too and really hip, but if you're doing original programming too, that's very expensive and you've got to get noted stars to star in it, so that people want to see it, and it's tough. But
yeah, because one of the things that we heard and read is that Reese Witherspoon was in contracts with them, but they paid her $6 million, right? And which is one of the reasons why they had financial problems, because they were paying people a bunch of money to go produce very small projects, right? And just think about what filmmakers could have done. Black filmmakers could have done with $6 million.
Oh, yeah. Especially the younger creatives that are getting started, because funding is always a challenge for your projects, It is.
Do you guys see TikTok being a disruptor in filmmaking in the future, or just, cinematography overall, that type of short, instant content? I know for a fact, actors are pouring money into it because it's just so useful. You can, go platinum by your song being played enough on TikTok if you get enough people to dance to it, if you make a video cool enough, that gets enough replays, interactions. So do you foresee that as a new type of storytelling, I guess?
Well, yeah, for me, it's just, it is a means of storytelling, but it's so short. It's such short content, which can be good. And it's cute if it's a dance or if it's something that you're doing. But when you really want to develop a story, you need a little bit more time. Usually, I've seen there have been some good films that are like 2.5 minutes and that kind of thing. But TikTok tends to be less than that, from what I've seen. And to really develop your story and your characters and to be able, you need a little bit more time. I think to do that. So I don't see how it, is going to play a part in terms of when it comes to short films or things that filmmakers want to do.
I do think, though, TikTok will help those independent filmmakers who are looking for some notoriety. They may be able to do something through TikTok that will really get eyes on them. And then they may be able to use that to parlay that into crowdfunding or parlay that into some investments by some people that are looking to invest money in with filmmakers, right? So I think it is a story. It is storytelling. But I don't think it will impact really what we see in the industry today for films.
Right. But I think seeing it kind of as a tool for people to promote something or develop something that's going to create buzz around something else that they're going to do. I can see where that could be really positive.
But I think what you do raise, though, is an important question, Jamila, because what we're seeing now is that things will become obsolete in a very short period of time. 6 months, a year, things will come online and go offline very quickly, right? So we just have to figure out. So I would suspect you're going to see Twitter do some more things. You're going to see IG do more things, right? There's some new apps that are coming out, so I think that you're going to have to be very careful as a creative to kind of figure out what story you're trying to tell and what mediums do you want to tell your stories, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Aaron. That is the pre-planning and trying to figure out what your audience is, what you're trying to accomplish. So a lot of the work needs to be up front before you even, start filming, before you start the project, in terms of understanding what it is you're trying to create and what you're trying to do with it.
Well, so if you even look at what we're doing now, we not only have we gone to off-season programming, but we are spending literally 10, 11 months preparing for the next festival, if you will. And that's really what you have to do if you want to create a compelling festival. I think you have to spend a fair amount of time creating, because now that we're approximately 9,000 headed toward 10 plus thousand attendees in person, we know that people will only come if they feel like there's a compelling reason or set of reasons, right? And we have a reputation for really great content with our films, amazing spoken word. We've done some things in music with Jasmine Horn last year and the year before with Kirk Whalum. So I think people really kind of enjoy, having those moments that last, 4 or 5 days, right?
Yeah.
And you guys Linda brought up how to stay engaging online, because now that they can just go to another tab and look it up on YouTube, that brings up a point to me, because a member actually told me that the other day. They said, I need to be able to tune into something that I can't literally go Google. So how are you guys going to keep, or plan to keep, the community engagement around Dbff, which really is the heart of the festival, virtual? Is there anything exciting about that being virtual? Are there any roadblocks, or can you kind of elaborate on that?
I think one thing that's a positive, it gives you, in the virtual world, it gives you a bigger reach. So even people that you want to bring in, while you might not be able to bring people in physically, you can, virtually. So it kind of broadens some things that you can do when it comes to workshops and panels, maybe filmmaker discussions and that kind of thing. The thing is trying to keep the intimacy, though, and keep people engaged with opportunities for them to, get something different than what you get if you just go watch a movie on Netflix or you go watch something else. How do we bring something else where the filmmakers are there, more content of interest that, is going to keep you engaged? And another aspect I always think about it too is there's so much coming at you, because like now there's like a gazillion films, things I'm trying to watch, and everything's coming at me. It's nice to think that someone can curate an experience for you, which is kind of what we do. We have, we've gotten submissions, films that filmmakers are sending us. We're going out into the world finding content that we think is really interesting. We're looking at, other areas, whether it's music. We started an original music video contest for this festival. We're going to introduce some dance and, some other things this year. So here it is that we're able to curate this for you, so you don't have to do it for yourself, because it takes a lot of hours and time to go try to find all these things yourself sometimes too. So wouldn't it be nice to have a place that you can go to and, we've got this for you, so check it out. Here it is. So I think that's a big advantage, of having a festival or doing something that you're presenting to people. And I think we have to let people know that, get people to understand that gift to them.
Curating and making a unique experience. Yeah.
Yes. And I would say that so someone asked me, a few years ago, why would they come to Dbff, right? And in particular, why would they come to Dbff for more than 1 year? And I said, well, that's a good question. What I would say to that is, when you attend a concert, do you remember the concert? And so that person thought about it and said, well, okay, if it was a Beyonce concert or a Jay-Z concert, yeah, I would remember it. I said, but the thing is, you went to that one event. I said, what we're offering is an experience, right? It's an experience that will last 4 or 5 days where you're not just going to a one-time event and going home. We want to immerse you in that. So you stay 2, 3, 4 days or 5 days. Is, we have, quite a few people that do, and they go to eat breakfast or lunch, meet new people, find out what people are doing from other parts of the country and the world. And so they get to learn about different cultures because they're right there in the midst of it, watching film, going to spoken word, talking to people that have come from other parts of the world or the United States where they can really share. And you can't do that in a concert or an event like that because you're focused on Beyonce or Jay-Z. So you may have 1 or 2 people around you, but in an environment like Dbff, it's really all things cultural, right? And so you're getting to, like one of the themes this year, major themes is we tell our stories, right? So we will be telling our stories about us, right?
Yeah, and I think too, in a virtual world, I mean, in the physical world, you can go and then go to all these events, but in a virtual world, you can too. We'll have all these avenues or things that you can do. So on Thursday, if you want to look and really check out the art portion of the festival, you can do that. Or you can watch a film. Here's a short film. Oh, I feel like watching a doc today. Oh, here's a subject that I'm really interested in. Here's a social justice. We always have social justice issues as part of our festival, and we'll have films and panels. So if you're interested in whatever it is we're covering, then, you can go experience that. So it's just that you're doing it at your home, at your comfort and your time, and not just when we have it scheduled for you, but it gives you've got that flexibility. But then you also have these things that during those, 5 days of the festival, when we're presenting this content to you, you can tune in and check all of that out. So I think, you're just not physically going around from place to place, and you don't have, all the people around you, of course, but, you can come interact with us, kind of like we're doing now.
Right. And I think part of what we are hoping to do is make the festival very interactive so that if you're watching a movie or you've watched a spoken word event, that you call your friend, your mother, your father, brother, sister, etc., right? Or even your frenemy, right? And you say, hey, go check this out. And so what we realize is we have to build in a certain amount of interactivity, right? So that it's not like a, for lack of a better word, we're on Hopping, but for lack of a better word, Zoom, right? Because after a while, everybody's just kind of onlined out. And so what we want to do is, bring just a lot of excitement. And so that's why we spend a lot of time trying to curate, whether it be film, spoken word, comedy, etc., an experience for you.
Yeah.
All right, for the sake of time, I'll end with my last question. You guys are always moving and shaking and just doing everything else. So what's next for DBFF Institute and DBFF overall to stay engaged? And then lastly, on top of that, how can, the Dallas community of creatives kind of just, stay engaged and connected?
Well, a good question. So DBFF Institute is alive and well. So we are focused this year on just doing a number of things. There'll be some social justice components for the festival. We are not having a tech expo this year because of COVID-19, but we will have some technical either panel discussions, workshops, etc. For creatives. We are doing a number of things for filmmakers. So based on our conversation too, Jiffy, we're working with trying to bring in a lot of creatives from the Dallas-Fort Worth area because we want them to be involved with the Institute. So I'm going to be trying to set up some things. Anyone that's interested, they can just send an email to DentonBFF.com, right? And we will hopefully get some information from them. But we want to create an environment for all creatives, right? To learn more about DBFF and build some infrastructure so that they can get the care and feeding they need, but also create the networks and collaborations they will need to be successful.
Right. And the email address is dentonbff@gmail.com.
I'm sorry.
You can email us. You can check out the website with with what Harry mentioned, but you can send an email to that general, email address, and we can route it through our people that are working the institute, or Harry will handle it, whatever. But we're just trying to build some network and some opportunities where filmmakers and other creatives can meet each other. So even though, and which kind of extends your reach so that you can meet people that you wouldn't necessarily meet in other places, that live other places, or even just around Texas and stuff. We've made real efforts with the Institute to try to connect with Texas creatives, and especially those in the, Dallas-Fort Worth area, this North Texas area. So we are asking creatives to please get involved, because we need to know too, what are the things that you need, how we can support you in your journey as an artist, how we can connect other people, because I think here, especially in North Texas, it seems like people work in silos more than they do maybe in some other places. And we know that we're more powerful together than we are all individually trying to reinvent the same things, we could, through sharing in our resources and different things, we can really help each other, and our whole area will thrive and benefit from it. So, we're trying to provide that platform and that opportunity for people to get together.
I agree.
Yes. And I know that's what you're about to, Jamila.
I agree. And I'm hoping. Thank you. I'm working on it, and I'm hopefully can continue to collaborate with you guys to work on it. You guys are inspiring me. I came to you all asking how I could help. So nonetheless, I'll be your Dallas ambassador as always.
Absolutely.
And we'll just continue to thrive and grow.
Well, thank you. And I'll be in touch about that girls' happy hour, our virtual.
All right. Yes. Well, if nonetheless, if I don't have any other questions for you guys, I'll be mindful of everyone else's time. I know it's a Monday and people are tuning in on their lunch hours. So nonetheless, feel free to use the networking tab if you would like to connect with other people. I've dropped the Denton Black Film Festival information in the chat, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you again, Linda and Harry, Eaddy. You guys shared a lot of information, and we hope to see you all engaging with the Denton Black Film Festival when it comes in 2021. Guys.